Hello, welcome back to another episode of MeatballCraft. How you guys doing? So I actually have some unfortunate news to share with you guys. If you haven't already heard from the GTNH streams, I was unfortunately let go from work. It was kind of out of nowhere. I didn't really have any time to prepare. I was just going about my day, actually doing tasks, and then I get a call from HR. Hey, Burning, can you come over? Oh man, as soon as I heard that, I already knew what was going on. But yeah, just like that, no warning, and I'm now a full-time gamer. I won't really get into the details about it, but it mostly boiled down to the customer was not really needing as much parts from us anymore, and because of that, the company can't really afford workers, right? And sadly, I was one of the ones that had to let go. But it's not so bad. I do consider myself an optimist, and what I'm getting out of this is the fact that I can finally move on into bigger and better things, right? Not just with work, but also MeatballCraft and GTNH. So in the meantime, while I'm looking for work, I will have more time for content creation, which includes the streams and the MeatballCraft playthrough. But with that said, the schedule is going to get a little weird. I still haven't quite figured out what it's going to look like yet, but in the next coming days, I'll figure that out. And I'll share it around in the Discord and also the YouTube community posts. But just keep that in mind, my schedule is going to look a little wonky until I figure out what to do next. It really was kind of like my first full-time job, and it's also the first time I was let go from a job, so I don't really know what I'm doing and what is going to happen next. But I'm also not like super scared about it either because, again, I'm an optimist, and even though something like this happened, there's always ways around it. One door closes and another one opens is what I like to think. But anyways, I don't mean to share too much bad news, right? Let's get into the episode. So on the last episode, we got this Amogus looking structure. It's spawning a bunch of these Hellfire mobs. I keep saying Hellfire, I really mean wildfires. And we're farming them because they drop Netherite ingots. Again, we're still focusing on the demonically gargantuan drum full of Netherite. We need about 400 to 500,000 of it. And we technically have it, we just have to wait a very long time. And if I check over here, we're up to 11,000. It's pretty good, but we have a long ways to go. And really the main focus I'm thinking for today is just figuring out ways to upgrade this. For example, how do we get more essence? And another big issue that I'm realizing now, how do we get more power? We are actually totally out of power. And even while our one numismatic dynamo is running, it's not enough to support the crusher over here, plus all the mob duplicators, plus the crusher in the overworld that's dealing with all of this stuff. So I think that's really where I'm going to start off with. How do we generate more power? And I still like the emeralds. I just have to upgrade the numismatic dynamo to, push even more power and also just make more of them and also upgrade our energy cell, things like that. And this does bring me to another point that someone did suggest on the last episode in the comments. I appreciate that. This farm generates a lot of things that has EMC. Right? Bricks, sure. Golden apples, sure. Glass bottles. So what I'm thinking is to have what's called an energy condenser. And this is one way to give EMC items, and then you tell it what you want to output. So it basically converts it for you. So what I can do with this is actually take everything out that is EMC, put it into there, and just turn everything into emeralds. And I think doing it like this is going to really improve our emerald production and use that for more power. I did convince myself last episode to not do this because, again, we want a lot of these resources. But then I'm just going to go back on that because we need EMC for more emeralds for more power. And I think this is the first thing we're going to craft. This itself is not too bad. It's just a lot of EMC. Energy condensers are also technically EMC craftable, right? Yeah, except for the manulin. But otherwise, this could be crafted. So we'll start off with this one. And then energy condenser 1. And energy condenser 2. Thank you. So just to show you guys what it kind of does, I believe I have a little bit of emeralds there, and then something else that gives EMC, like diamonds, for example. If you didn't know how this works, in this slot, I basically tell it, hey, I want emeralds. And then on the left, it takes in the items, and then it converts it to emeralds itself, right? So I am curious about something. Can I put things in here that don't have EMC? For example, I have a chest, right? And it's going to extract into here. So what happens if I give it a wizard hat? it doesn't go in there, right? But if I give it a chest, which has EMC, it accepts it. Okay, that's really good to know, because I can totally do the same thing over here and just put everything in here that has EMC into the Teslicator. Now, another question I have, is there a priority to this? Because if there is, then I can make things so much easier. Hang on, now that I think about it, I can just put a Teslicator here and output into the thing here. But then is the other question, how laggy is that, right? Because I don't really know how the drawer controller works. Does it check every single spot for something and then it outputs, right? I don't think I want to do that. So yeah, we're going to try to see if it is priority. So if I put something right here, does it have priority to put something into here first and then to the bottom? So I have to really watch out, because I'm going to fall otherwise, right? I promise once I get to the furnace dimension, I'm going to start focusing on flight. I feel like I run so fast that I'm going to fall off, but anyways. So I'll put the energy condenser right here, and then the item Teslicator right there. Okay, it totally does work. You see here that it's putting everything in here first. Because golden pickaxes, I think we do have on storage. Yes. So it was able to put it there first. That's a really good sign. So anything with EMC is going to go over here. And then I tell it, hey, make me emeralds. And there we go. And then what I can do is actually put more Teslicators. I think in our case, it's better off to just use item conduits here because they're cheaper. But I would take the emeralds out and put them in our drawer network, which we do have space. And now that I think about it, I might as well use a compacting drawer for this, because we want a lot of emeralds. And there we go. And we did the math last episode. This is going to store, I forgot the math, but it's going to store a lot of emeralds. And here's another cool feature about Ender.io that I actually learned, I think, in GT&H, because usually you have like a really hard time accessing this. I guess this version of Minecraft where you can crouch, you can access it, but other versions, you can't quite get this low, so you can't access it, right? But you can totally just shift left click and select which face you want to access, right? Extract into here. And there we go. It's going to take out the emeralds and put them back into storage, which should go over here. And also reminds me I have to take this one out. And there we go. Now that we have everything that is EMCable, for example, just throw everything in there, right? That has EMC, I don't care about it. It will get turned into emeralds and then we extract it out. All of this other stuff, for example, things like diamonds, I'm not going to convert it. We won't get anything new, but if we ever need to get diamonds, I can always just take emeralds out and then convert it, right? And get diamonds this way. So this is another way we can do things. But my main focus is getting more emeralds. And speaking of emeralds, there's actually an improvement I want to make using an ender chest. And that improvement is in our emerald producer with the villager farm we set up in one of the first couple of episodes. So right now we have it sending to another compacting drawer, but I can just put everything into an ender chest and send it to our main storage system. So what I can do, I'm going to have to, you know what, just make everything item conduits because they're faster instead of hoppers. It's a lot easier to deal with it like that. Okay, this guy, step assist is getting a little weird. But anyways, we would insert everything into this ender chest, just like that, right? So everything that this is producing is going to go into here. You saw the name tags, right? But remember, we have that EMC thing, so they're going to get put into the energy condenser and turn into emeralds anyways. And yes, this is something that runs nonstop. It's chunk loaded. And I think this entire time we have 855 blocks. So that's not too bad. Okay, so I just put the drawer here with all the name tags. It's using the Teslicators to just shove it all into the energy condenser. And look at how many emeralds we're getting out of this. Oh, it's pretty funny. And then the rest of the intestines are going back into our storage. And we're now up to 927 after I've left it running for a little bit. Pretty good stuff. But the next step I want to figure out is how many numismatic dynamos am I going to make? And before I do that, I do want to see what a fully upgraded one is going to produce us. Because right now this one makes 400 RF per tick, but it's not quite fully upgraded. We still have 2 power tiers to go, which is Signalum and then Resonant, I believe. Yeah. So I'm going to make a Resonant conversion kit or upgrade kit and then fully spam this with augments and see how much power one makes. And then from there, I'll figure out how many do I need. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time crafting these upgrades. And I'm looking at everything involved, for example, cryotheum. I remember this being a problem before, which is why we didn't go past reinforced. And I think it's because the cryotheum needed some things and I didn't really want to deal with it, right? But we have a good source of XP now and we can do this. But the point I'm trying to make is that pretty close to convincing me to set up an actual AE2 system with a good sized controller and interfaces, things like that, so I can get autocrafting going. But of course, to do that, we need more power. So that might be what's going on in the next episode or maybe later today, setting up something to get autocrafting going. That's just something I was thinking about. I'm going to go back to crafting this. And resonant upgrade kit. Thank you. So I can put both of these onto the numismatic dynamo. Go. And see how much it's going to need. So this has room for a lot of augments. I think the ones that really apply to this one are going to be fuel catalyzer for more fuel efficiency and speed. So I think this is the one we want to do, the one that has increased power generation because, well, we might as well, right? I don't know, I'm kind of curious about it. Whoever knows how these dynamos work, what's like the most efficient way to do things? Is it better to just spam transmission coils for the most power generation possible? Or like a balance between fuel efficiency and whatnot, right? I'm just curious what's the maximum power we can generate, and I think I'm just gonna do the auxiliary transmission coils for now. And 64, they're actually super cheap. So if I take this one out and then just spam it, it looks like each one can produce 1500 RF per tick. But you see here that they are being consumed fast. That's kind of funny, but we still don't have a net positive. I feel like we're just consuming so much power now. It's mostly these mob duplicators that's consuming a lot of power. For example, each one is 80, right? 80 times 25 is what? 2,000 already, just with the mob duplicators. So we have to produce a lot more than that. So I think what I'm going to do next is actually make multiple of these, maybe minimum 4. And also put them in an area. And just like we did with the purple spot, I'm going to break up this blue concrete with the new area. And that's where our temporary emerald production is going to be. So I'm going to take some time off camera, build a couple of dynamos, and fully upgrade them as well. And try to get more power like that. Okay, so it's been a couple hours since the last clip. I spent some time crafting these dynamos and the upgrades for them, setting everything up, making sure that it works pretty well. And I was also kind of waiting for my slow cooker pot roast to finish. And oh man, it was like the best pot roast I've ever eaten. I don't know how I'm doing it, but every time I make it, it tastes better than the last time. I recommend slow cookers. It's so good. But anyways, the 4 dynamos are right here. And it's pretty simple. They're all attached to the battery over here. And then we have the flux plug to connect to everything else. But you see here that only one of them is resonant. And that's because I completely forgot that crafting more dynamos uses up Enderium. So I'm completely out of this, and I don't have any platinum left. So if I really want to upgrade things, I have to look for platinum. But we don't need to do that right now. And I was actually doing a little bit of math, and I figured out something. And it all involves EMC. So if I look at emerald, its EMC is 16384. But if I look at the augment, it doesn't actually generate that much power compared to something like diamond, for example. And diamond has less EMC. So I was thinking about it, digging through this list of items and seeing what's the best rate. For example, if I take out my calculator. So 1.2 million, I think that's 1.2 million, right? Divide by 8192. This gives me a value of 146 RF per EMC. Emeralds itself only generates 200,000. And divide that by 16,384, 12. That's not good. So I should be able to just convert into diamonds. I can get about 2 of them per, and then get way more power. But it actually gets a little funnier. The best item here is actually apatite. It does not generate a lot of power, but if I divide 40,000 by 128, 312 RF per EMC. This is definitely the highest. So what does that mean for us? Another energy condenser to convert emeralds to apatite. And then I'm just going to go ahead and export on round robin into every single one of these dynamos. And this should give us a really good amount of power compared to emeralds. I mean, we're getting the same amount of power, it's just how long the fuel lasts. But because we get so much more apatite out of each emerald, it's just more worth it to use apatite instead. What I also did here was adjust the amount of augments I had because I do want to last a little longer here. And I figured I'm going to aim for about 3000 RF to begin with. If I need more, I can just add more of these transmission coils, right? So this one has a couple of those and a couple of those, but these have just transmission coils to speed up the power. So in total, this is a little more than 3000. And you can see here 3180. And I can increase this even further by plugging in our thermoelectric generator. Okay, so in total, we're producing about, I don't really know of a good way to see here, but we are generating power, which means our farm is now running, and we are a net positive. Now, the question I have here is, how long is this going to survive? We're down to 600 blocks of emerald. Is this enough to keep it sustainable? I don't know. At least it will stop whenever it gets to 48 million. And by the way, I did upgrade the energy cell as well. I forgot to mention that. I guess we'll leave it running for a little bit. And if we need more emeralds, we can always speed up the farm in the overworld. But I just find this really funny that something as simple as appetite fertilizer is going to power our entire base. Okay, this is actually pretty good. I turned around for a little bit to do some editing, and then I came back to a full battery, full appetite, everything, and we actually have a net positive of emeralds. Just a little bit extra. We only gained about 20 blocks since, I think. But again, if we need more emeralds, I can always improve the villager farm. But we have another solution to solve. You'll see here that it's not running nonstop, and that is because our experience issue is still present. So one of the things we kind of talked about last episode was, how do we figure out a way to get more experience? And one of the solutions I was thinking about is actually figuring out a way to convert the solidified stuff into the liquid form. So there's multiple ways to do this, right? One of the easiest ways is just to use a magma crucible, convert it to essence of knowledge, and then we would convert that again in the fluid dictionary, convert it into essence. Another way would be a bunch of fluid tanks, because this one just directly converts it. So those are really slow options, but I think I have the answer. I was playing around with it in single player after the last episode. It's these routers from Modular Routers. And pretty much what I can make this do is mimic a player. On the last episode, I also tried to use this mechanical user, right? But it did not let me shift, so that it was really slow. It was just doing this over and over again. But we want something to shift right-click to claim the entire stack. And this modular router does do that. Now, the only issue here is that we have to do a little bit of exploration for the crystallized mineral trunks. Yeah, I don't have any of this, so I'm going to have to find the sapling out in the overworld. Now, this is a nice change of pace, isn't it? It's been a while since we actually stepped out of the personal dimension box to go exploring for a bit. But I am excited for the furnace dimension, man. I've been wanting to stretch my legs. I don't have it with me, right? But that book was kind of explaining a guy who was a little obsessed with finding the furnace dimension, and I totally understand where he's coming from. As soon as I heard about it, there's just something about it that really made me want to go in there. And everything I've done the past couple of episodes is just for that reason. And it's not any different here. The whole reason I want more power is to get more mobs to spawn, to get more netherite for the furnace dimension. I didn't show it on camera yet, but we are like 15,000 netherite ingots in. That's some percent. It's bigger than 1%, I'm pretty sure. Nope. And you know what? While I'm here, you guys remember this from one of the earlier episodes? I kind of wussed out. I right-clicked it and it spawned a boss, but I'm pretty sure we're like way stronger now, so punch it? Or would I break it? Yeah. Oh, you have no chance. I was so scared of you last time, and you have no... Where are you? Hang on. Where'd it go? Oh, it's right there. You wuss. Don't run away from me. I had nothing to be scared about. I guess back then I did, but now I'm a little strong. A little too strong, right? Where'd he go? Oh, I think I took care of him. Okay, sure. Oh, I think that's it, right? It's those blue trees, yeah. Oh, it's a whole forest of them. Well, now they're all mine. Okay, so to get this crystallized mineral chunk, easiest way is to use a mechanical squeezer with mineral wood. But I only need a couple of them because 3 of them will make 6 of these modules. And I think that's all we need for now, just to start. So otherwise, we can just get it from trees themselves. But they have to grow with this enriched mineral wood. And I think I can even... Yeah, if I get one of these, I should be able to silk touch it, dupe it, and then we can get a lot of mineral chunks like this. Okay, so this tree has it. This is the second tree I planted. Enriched mineral wood is right there. So I think I can just get it with silk touch. Do have the hammer with silk touch. Yeah, and then dupe it. Then what happens if I place it down here and then start mining the heck out of this with the pickaxe? Oh yeah, that's how we get our chunks. Very simple solution, right? And then the item router. Okay, so by itself, it doesn't really do too much if you don't know how this works. You have to modulate it. That's literally in the name, right? You have to give it these modules, and depending on what you give it, it does different actions. So the two that I'm looking for is the vacuum module and the activator module, I believe. I can hold control and it tells me what it does here. Yeah, simulates right-clicking blocks and entities using the items in the router's buffer. The good thing also is that it doesn't need any power. It's always great. So I can configure this with middle click and then tell this sneak right-click item in buffer and give it solidified XP. And then I think I have to give it a side as well. So front. And there it is. So it did shift right-click that XP and it dropped it into experience balls on the ground. Now, I don't want to pick it up, so we'll use the vacuum module. And there's actually an augment for this that makes it turn into an experience vacuum. It's this one over here, the XP vacuum augment. So I would then give it here, and then middle click and give it this augment, and try to pick up, the one I'm looking for is liquid XP cyclic. So this is actually kind of a XP converter. It'll pick up XP orbs and then turn it into a certain type that I ask it to, right? But if it has a fluid, it has to have a tank next to it, from what I understand. So let's give it a tank. And actually, the tank we can use is the experience obelisk itself. So now if I get a bunch of XP, give it to this guy. Oh, no. I swear it was working. I think I just have to change some settings for it. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so I just had to put it to all directions so it's able to pick up in a circle around it. And then if I wanted to speed it up, I can give it a couple of those speed upgrades. These guys, which are not too bad themselves. It's just the upgrades themselves and then a bunch of EMC stuff. Yeah. So just like a recap of item routers, if you don't know, I really like this mod. I played with it for the first time in a couple years ago, back in All the Mods 6. Yeah, I think that's the one with 1.16 Minecraft, right? First time I played with that. And I was actually able to use it to really cram the Botania setup. So I may even do that again whenever I set up automation for it. But the whole idea is that it follows this list from left to right every time it ticks. So every 0.8 seconds, in other words. So first it activates the item, and then it activates the vacuum module, which tries to pull in every experience, right? And because this is set up to liquid XP, how it works, I can click here, gives me more information. If I have eject enabled, it'll attempt to eject any XP fluid into a suitable adjacent tank. The only tank it has that's suitable is the experience obelisk. So right now there's nothing in there, right? And if I were to give it solidified XP, and then if I check here, up to 19 levels. So it does work. So how am I going to set this up to turn basically all of our solidified experience and then convert it into essence? I think what I'm just going to do is connect it over here to the frame drawers. Let me also make it day so I can actually see. Okay, how does this look? It's a little cursed, but the idea is pretty similar. You got an ender tank, right, that gets all the essence we produce from the farms, convert that into liquid XP, which gets shoved into the experience obelisk, and this is where all of our XP is being stored. It's kind of like a buffer setup, right? And then it exports into 4 different fluid dictionary converters, and I can just spam more if I really need more throughput. But these guys, they all convert liquid XP into essence, and this is what gets sent into our mob farm. So I may need to add more. I definitely need to add more. Yeah, let's add some more, because I really want my farm to run, because we need that much netherite. Okay, this is getting a little ridiculous. 8? Is 8 enough? How much essence do you need, man? Okay, 8 seems like it's enough. We have the duplicators that are slowly building up. I think that's enough, right? Yeah. How is our XP doing? Oh, we're out. That's so funny. We had like 50,000 in here and we're all out. But how many levels do I have? 361 levels. I think we're going to be okay for a while. but our farm is running a lot faster, which does remind me, netherite check. How much do we have? We're up to 21,000. So far in this episode, we've already produced 10,000. We are slowly getting there. Slowly but surely. Okay, pretty cool. I let it run for another like 30 minutes, and it seems pretty consistent. The farm has not stopped running. If I check my experience count, we have 351, and it kind of goes between here and up, so it is able to maintain itself. That's a ton of levels, by the way, so that's pretty good. You know, our emeralds are going steadily up. We're up to 700 now. And then our netherite, 41,000. We're getting a good amount of it. It hasn't even been that long. We're almost at our first 100,000. So I imagine after a little bit of AFKing, we might be able to get this. So we have a little bit of time left for the end of the episode. And I don't think I'm going to get into new stuff right now, because everything I have in mind is going to take a little bit. For example, the next thing I want to do is to start setting up AE2. I've been putting it off for quite a while, but it's time, especially after trying to craft a couple of these dynamos plus their upgrades. This was a little annoying, I'm going to be honest. And I really need to have an auto crafting setup going. So I think next episode I'm going to set up like a very simple AE2 controller. And in the meantime, of course, our farm is going to be generating a lot of netherite. Usually whenever I start off with a decent AE2 controller, I go with 9. Next episode, I'll show you exactly what I intend to do. So we should have everything on hand except for manulin. I think I may have to go look for this. Actually, we're not cavemen. We have technology. Let's set up a builder. It looks a little expensive, but I'm pretty sure we have everything needed for it. Yeah, let's craft this, because we're going to need a lot of resources moving forward, especially with auto crafting things, right? And having a way to mine the stuff is going to be really good for us. Plus, we have a really good source of power, so we might as well take advantage of it. Okay, so out of everything in the recipe, this is all I have to show for it. So I'll show a little bit of things on camera. So for example, the gold blocks, or the living gold. You just have to put this in a pure daisy, which we do have. And there we go. And then for the dried brick, we just have to make a bunch of drying racks. Oh yeah, look how neat this looks. Love it. Next step to work on is the coke oven bricks, which needs more dried bricks, but also treated wood. Did we make a coke oven? I don't remember. Hang on. I think it's in the overworld if we do have one. No, we made the blast furnace. So we're going to have to set up a coke oven for this. But I don't think I want to do this. We also have the pyrolytic conversion augment for a redstone furnace. Okay, my machine wall is getting a little messy. I promise it'll look a lot nicer whenever I get AE2 set up. But redstone furnace, upgrade to hardened so that it can accept pyrolytic conversion augment. And then throw some coal in there and speed it up like crazy. And then I can use that creosote bucket to turn planks to the treated wood variant. I only need 1. I'm just thinking about it now. How does it turn from a ball into an ingot? It's just drying, and how does it get bigger also? No clue. But anyways, we craft 4 coke oven bricks. I think that's everything actually. Yeah, we have plenty of dried bricks. It has to be here though. No, elite crafting table. Yeah. Okay, sweet. We got it. But by itself, it doesn't really do much. You need to have these shape cards, right? Which is actually EMCable. Okay, so just to start off with, I want this to be able to mine out this entire chunk. Like that. Okay, so it's going to build this one. Select the first corner. I want it to be here. And then the second corner will be the one right below it. I just have to make sure that it doesn't mine the very first one, right? Yeah. So I just need to go all the way down. I have the Ring of Odin, so I'm not afraid of any fall damage or burn damage. That's why I'm kind of just doing it like this. Ring of Odin is so strong. That's exactly why I went for it very early. So if I give the shape card core like this, and then see the preview mode, I just have to make sure that it doesn't mine the block itself. The smart person would put it to the side so that it's away from the area, but I'm not smart. What I can do next is give it a crate on top. So it puts all of the contents in there, and then flux point to power the thing. Have a lever. There we go. Oh yeah, so I just want to see it mine a whole chunk, see what we get out of this. So you might be thinking, why are you going to keep this? Well, honestly, I don't know. Yeah, it's a little too strong. I have to deal with the netherrack. So one way to deal with this is to just make the filter modules. There we go. And I think I can shift right click this or right click it. Yes. Not enough room. I'm not supposed to. Oh, shush. There you go. Enjoy. Okay, so I cleaned up all the netherrack and then I let it run for just a little bit. It did not take that long to finish up. But this is all the goodies we got from just a single chunk. Actually pretty good. But really the main focus was to get a little bit extra cobalt and ardite, which we definitely did get. But I think in the long run, I'm going to put an ender chest into here and send it back into our main storage. But I'm going to have to like clean it up. So we still have to clean up the filtering on our ender chest back home. Okay, so after that little crafting montage to get the builder, we're now up to 70,000 netherite. It's getting up there. It's pretty quick. And most of this time, it's not just crafting the builder itself, but it's also like the time I spent AFK editing. I called it functional AFK, right? Because I don't like to AFK just for the sake of it. Like, I'm not going to leave my computer running overnight. No. It's only when I edit is when I actually AFK. But anyways, this is a pretty good time to wrap up the episode. I do apologize if the crafting montage for the builder was a little rushed. And that's just because I wanted to get it done before the end of the episode. So if there's anything that confused you about it, just let me know. But it wasn't the main focus for today. The main focus was actually upgrading our power situation as well as our essence generation, which we have totally done back here. So I'm pretty confident, maybe not next episode, but maybe 2 episodes from now, we can get into the furnace dimension. And speaking of next episode, the plan is still to set up an AE2 controller. We have everything for this except for Manualin, but we did just set up that builder to get the stuff. But with that said, I appreciate your time and support. Take care and have a good day. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.